As far as workplace harassment, abuse, discrimination, and misconduct goes, if we're not talking about Activision Blizzard, then we're usually talking about Ubisoft, the other major game company and game publisher currently facing scrutiny because of its complacency in its awful work environment. And with Ubisoft, all of that was exposed even before Activision Blizzard, and they're doing way worse than Activision Blizzard are with dealing with the situation, and Activision Blizzard already set the bar pretty low, so that should tell you something. Now, employees are protesting, and we're also seeing a lot of developers just straight up leave Ubisoft because they're sick and tired of the state of things within the company. And now, in a desperate attempt to try to get experienced developers to stay, as reported here by Kotaku, Ubisoft has announced pay raises to stop developers from leaving, except we're not talking about equal distribution of pay raises, but rather raises are highest for those who already are best paid, prompting criticism. It will only fuel inequality, which, yeah, I mean, there's literal inequality we're seeing right here as the rich get richer and the poor, or the poorer, the people who make less, just get a smaller boost. Sources tell Kotaku that those who currently earn the most will see the biggest increases. Ubisoft Canada leads the development on many of the company's biggest blockbusters, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, Watch Dogs Legion, among others, and this is the main studio where a lot of the criticism is based around. Pay raises are set to go into effect immediately, but according to a developer who's currently within the Canadian studio, they relate to Kotaku, quote, "They are desperately trying to hold on to what few experienced developers are still here." And that's just the general problem within the games industry as a whole. Too many veterans are leaving and they're not able to be replaced fast enough with other veterans. Instead, a bunch of juniors are coming in while a lot of the seniors are leaving because they're getting burned out by the state of things. You know, there's just better pay and better treatment elsewhere. And that is obviously detrimental to a development team. To be healthy, a development studio needs to have a healthy combination of both veterans and juniors. Veterans who obviously can use their knowledge and experience to make the best version of the game possible, while also guiding the juniors, ensuring that they're well trained so that they can eventually take over. But if the work environment is poor, then people are just going to up and leave early, and you're going to end up in a situation where it's just a bunch of juniors. And it would seem as though that's the predicament Ubisoft is finding itself here as they continue to lose the more veteran, the more experienced developers. Now, Kotaku here breaks down the pay raises further. Junior staff will receive a 5 to 7% increase, while the most senior staff could see their pay increased by up to 20%. Quadruple that of the people who are making less money. It makes no freaking sense. That would mean a lower level developer might see a $50,000 a year salary increase by $2,500, whereas a higher level developer who's making $100,000 would see as much as $20,000 in additional pay. Utterly ridiculous, and a core issue, a core problem for the kind of discrimination that goes on within these companies and the pay disparity that creates. And when reached out for a statement by Kotaku, here's what a Better Ubisoft emailed back. These moves do absolutely nothing to address the key demands of a Better Ubisoft. In addition, by weighing the pay rises enormously in favor of senior staff, management are exacerbating the gap between the highly and low paid workers. They're only making the issue worse of fair pay. I mean, it's natural that, higher positions will be paid more, but the amount of disparity is too much, and now that gap just got bigger because the pay raise for the already highly paid is so much bigger than those who make less. Now, in an email to Kotaku, Ubisoft insists that there will be another adjustment to come in April. As usual, this is the first of a number of initiatives we are announcing to provide a competitive employer offer, and as part of our broader ongoing changes. So they're trying to come off like this is the first step, and like we can expect much better a couple months down the line, but I don't see any guarantees here that pay raises will be fairer and more equal and create less disparity between those who already paid more versus paid less. Then here we have further details on Ubisoft's desperation to retain experienced developers. Sources tell Kotaku that Ubisoft has been bleeding top-level talent for the past couple of years. In addition to the allegations that came out in 2020 of harassment, discrimination, awful work environment, etc., these departures have also come as part of a general wave of resignations throughout the global pandemic, and as competitors for talent ramp up among companies like Google, Facebook, and Riot Games and Tencent. These companies just pay more, so obviously they're going to attract more developers, and generally a lot of developers are leaving game development in favor of more tech-based development that just straight up have better pay and better work conditions. So as long as this culture continues to permeate within the games industry, it's just going to create an absence, a void of experienced talent as they burn out early. An example noted here is how not too far back earlier this year, longtime Assassin's Creed directors Darby McDevitt, Eric Baptizat, and Raphael Lacoste all left the company for other studios in the span of just a few months, and this is just to name a few. And then sources also relate information about an attempt that was made to improve working conditions, with Kotaku bringing up how Eidos Montreal, who recently released Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, announced last month that they'd be moving to a 4-day, 32-hour work week, essentially making their game development pipeline less psychologically strenuous for the staff. And Ubisoft tried to implement something similar after feedback, but they decided to go against it. Sources told Kotaku that Ubisoft Montreal experimented with 36-hour work weeks over this past summer, and that management had considered the initiative a success, but when asked about continuing or expanding it, said the policy was shot down as unworkable, even though it went well. They also said that the company has been resistant to implementing any changes that lead to greater pay transparency. You may recall Activision Blizzard actually did commit in a statement to offering more transparency with an annual report on pay throughout the company. That way it's easier to spot pay disparity and in turn discourage that from happening. Ubisoft has shown no such similar commitment, and they refuse to cut down on weekly work hours, preferring to continue to work people to death, to crunch them to anxiety or to psychological breakdowns. And this is on top of all the abuse and misconduct and harassment and discrimination that happens within the company that has still gone far too unaddressed. So this is yet another way that Ubisoft employees are protesting on top of all of the other protests we've seen in the past, like this letter right here, released on August 11th, 2021, signed by 1,000 former and current Ubisoft employees, essentially in favor of the walkout that Activision Blizzard hosted back then, and just calling for general industry-wide change in this letter here shown in this image. And then beyond that, earlier, back in late August 2021, a Better Ubisoft continued to apply pressure by tweeting how 76 days after the letter, Ubisoft offers a weak response to our key demands. We have the following statement. And they basically say here, while it's appreciated that there was at least some response, 16 months since Ubisoft was forced to take limited action following public posts on Twitter and all of the exposés that came out, they still haven't done enough. They offer nothing more than assurances, and them offering a chance for employees to submit surveys is not the same thing as having a seat at the table, as that's feedback that they can just ignore, whereas a seat at the table means an actual negotiation, an actual two-way street, an actual back and forth, and that's what Ubisoft employees are not being granted. And so, more recently, on November 5th, 2021, a Better Ubisoft took to further protest by releasing a link to a Google Docs post that is essentially acting as a petition for anyone to come in, sign, and explain why they're in support of a better ABK. And you can see right here, they got pretty cheeky with the image attached with a banner that reads, "You disappoint us, MGMO. 100 days, 0 demands met. Surely you can do better than this." And for those who don't know, this is in reference to how Ubisoft sent out emails that were playfully mocking players for not going back to Far Cry 6, for not being engaged enough. This was something posted by Brendan Sinclair here from gamesindustry.biz. A lot of games are already ruthlessly designed to maximize engagement, but now they email and hassle you if you dare to stop playing them. Posted on October 26th, and clicking on the image you can see the kinds of emails some players have been seeing. It was amusing watching you fail as if it were directly from the dictator character in Far Cry 6 played by Giancarlo Esposito. "Hola Rojas, I wanted to thank you for giving me free reign in Yara. Take it easy and know that Yara is in capable hands. El Presidente, surely you can do better than this." Ubisoft has done this in the past, and some people don't care as much, but others find it kind of egregious in a world where developers are trying to keep people engaged for the wrong reasons, for monetization purposes and all that. So this banner right here is essentially a play on that. "We're disappointed in you, CEO Yves Guillemot. 100 days, 0 demands met. You're not listening to us. You can do better than this." I love this bit. The next tweet highlights the demands that a Better Ubisoft is not budging on. Our key demands: number 1, stop promoting and moving known offenders from studio to studio, team to team, with no repercussions. This cycle needs to end. Ubisoft has only let go and fired the most publicly accuse people, but there's still plenty of others, plenty of abusers who have seen no consequences, that have been moved around instead, and continue to work in positions of power when they shouldn't be, given that they're known to have abused that power. Number 2, we want a collective seat at the table to have a meaningful say in how Ubisoft as a company moves forward from here, and a frickin' survey does not count, Ubisoft. Number 3, cross-industry collaboration to agree on a set of ground rules and processes that all studios can use to handle these offenses in the future. Number 4, this collaboration must heavily involve employees in non-management positions and union representatives. And yeah, there's the word that many game publishers fear, unionization, as that would give staff and developers power and give publishers less control over how they essentially mistreat their employees. So I guess we'll see how all of that goes, but so far apparently there's been an outpour of support that's made a Better Ubisoft really happy. They tweeted on November 6th, "The outpouring of solidarity and support we have seen since the launch of our petition has been incredible. Thank you all so much. Please keep it coming. Sign and share. Here's the link, and please grab these new banners to show your support." I'll go ahead and link this in the description below and in the comments below for those who are interested in signing this. The more support we can show, the more we can keep the ball rolling. The more the voices can continue to be heard, the more pressure will be applied to Ubisoft until they will eventually be forced to cave. Kind of like how Activision Blizzard caved eventually to some of the demands, but that was only after a significant amount of pressure. Ubisoft needs to feel that level of heat and fire. Otherwise, they're going to try to continue bearing this under the rug, which is all they've been doing since all these exposés came out. But fortunately, with the Activision Blizzard situation kind of fueling the conversation as a whole, Ubisoft is not getting away with this so far, and hopefully that'll be the case for the future as well. They need to be held accountable, and employee demands must be met. And these are reasonable demands that I've seen so far. Nothing too out there. Enough is enough. Like, change just needs to happen, and I'm more than happy to help contribute to spreading the word about that at the very least. But until then, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on this whole Ubisoft situation and the progress that protests seem to be making. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.